Welcome back to another episode of the Align for Success podcast. I am Deborah Deras, your hostess with the mostest, here bringing you each and every week an inspirational guest. Someone that has inspired me, someone that has motivated me, someone that I think will help you to align for success. And for those of you that are new to the show, welcome, welcome, welcome. My intention is that my guests will help you with the inner strategies, the success tips, the modeling that will help you fulfill your soul's contract, your dream, your life purpose, your goals. Or maybe you're in a slump or you're stuck somewhere to help you get out of that funky mood to be able to really create the life you desire, the dream life. And you may have noticed we're here on a new night. It's Transformational Tuesday, Tune In Tuesday. So I know some of you may not have been expecting us, but we are going to be here on this new night every single Tuesday, 6:15 Pacific time. So make sure you mark it on your calendar and share it with your friends because tonight is going to be an amazing show. We have my brother from another mother as our very special guest tonight, my best friend, Mr. Milton Smith. But I'm not going to introduce him yet, but in a moment. So I'm going to invite you when you're ready to share, even you, Milton, share this on your Facebook, share this on your YouTube. If you know anyone that wants to be inspired, that wants to be enlightened, that wants to be aligned, make sure to invite them on the show. So, what is alignment? Oftentimes people ask me. Many times people think if you want to be successful, you need to push, you need to pull, you need to hustle, and no pain, no gain. Well, not on our watch. We are on the Success with Ease and Grace program. And that means aligning our thoughts with our emotions, with our behaviors, with our results. And when we do, we are able to attract, to be in the right place at the right time, to take inspired action. So instead of pushing and pulling against the grain, we are able to flow like the ocean. In fact, Prince, my friend Prince, said that the reason that he doesn't like to plan things far in advance because he likes to be like the ocean and flow. And that's what we do here. We go with the flow and we allow inspiration, we allow passion, we allow our divine downloads to lead us to the right place at the right time with the right people to fulfill our soul's contract. But if you've been feeling stuck and you have like a little Debbie Downer voice in your head or a little negative Nelly voice that says, who are you to go for your visions? Who are you to, go for that new business? Or who are you to move to a new country? Or who are you to live your maximum dreams? Who are you not to me? Is what Marianne Williamson always says. And if you go to my website, by the way, which is deborahderas.com, you can see it on the video screen. For those of you who are listening in, it's just my name, DeborahDeras.com. And you can download my free Align for Success video. And this video will allow you to be able to learn the techniques to reframe that monkey mind and to align for success. All right, friends. Also, you'll be on my email list and be invited to webinars to be able to grow your business. I have so many webinars that are absolutely no cost, thanks to your tax dollars, and you're going to be able to attend them when you sign up for my newsletter. So make sure you grab the video, sign up for the newsletter. It's all in one place at deborahderas.com. I have some other big news for you, my friends. We are now, when I say we, I mean me and you, because this podcast isn't about me. This podcast is created to and for you to align for success. We are now on Apple Podcasts. We are now on Spotify. Have you heard of it? So awesome. So If you're not a video streamer and you prefer to listen to podcasts while you're driving to work or while you're exercising, you can do it now. It's all one word, which is, I'm going to write it down for you, Align for Success TV. So we are on Apple and Spotify. You can tune in. And right now, we are going to be having all of our episodes uploaded there. So I'm really excited for those of you that prefer podcasts. Just make sure you do one word, Align for Success TV. And if you prefer Apple, go to Apple. If you prefer Spotify, I'm a Spotify girl, go to Spotify and we will be there. Okay. So you're getting a sneak preview of Milton before he's released to the world of audio. Okay, without any further ado, I'm getting ready to introduce our guest. So make sure that you share this broadcast with your friends. And by the way, if you don't already know, you can comment, you can ask questions to Milton or make comments during the podcast. This is your time. I'm turning back on the fan. I was not going to have my fan on because I was going to try to just suffer and sweat, but I was reminded by my higher self that we're on the Align for Success Ease and Grace program, and no one's going to be happy if Deborah Deras is hot. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the fan. Create the life you love the way you want it. And I want it with a little bit of fan noise. So please forgive me. Okay, so today's guest is my brother from another mother. He believes that every day is a new day for a fresh start. And he is honestly one of the most inspirational people I know. I met him through a mutual friend. Her name is Lisa Pereira, samba dancer from New York, where he's from, the East Coast in New York. And she was like, let's hang out one night. And she brought Milton. I think we were going to the Santa Monica Pier or something. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. And I was like, he is super cool. And like the first time we met, we decided that we should run a marathon together. I don't know why. 26.2 miles. Let's do it. And I was going through a divorce, or I was divorcing, and I was newly single after being with one person for 11 years. And it was so wonderful to have a guy friend to be able to talk to give me advice. He would say, oh no, you got to clear the queue, Deborah. Oh no, this guy is not for you. Oh no, Deborah, he is trouble. I was just the best. And we would have like these wonderful sessions. I was living right on the beach, which I am again. And he would knock on my door in the morning and say, hello. It'd be 7 in the morning. I'd be like, what are you doing? And then within 30 minutes, or actually within 2 minutes of seeing his wonderful smile, his beautiful spirit, I would just be in the best mood ever. And you're going to be in the best mood ever because he is so incredible. He is a formerly self described as a solution focused community activist. And these days, after two close brushes with death and a relocation to his favorite city in the world, Mexico City, he's now a happy expat, which my friend didn't know what it was, so you better explain it. Living his best life, encouraging others to do the same. Please help me welcome my brother from another mother, Mr. Milton Smith. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Deborah. You look
I
beautiful, by the way,
thank
as
you. I'm
always.
so grateful that you were able to be here. I know how busy you are, how active you are, and how your life is just expanding in so many glorious ways.
I always have time for you, and you know that.
I love you. I love you so much. Oh my God. Thank God for Facebook, or I would be missing you too much. I would literally be having Milton withdrawal disorder. Forget COVID. I'd be with MWS. You know what I mean? I'd be like, but through the blessings of Facebook, which by the way, everyone, I'm going to put up Milton's Facebook because once you start hearing his story and who he is and his journey, you're going to want to follow him on Facebook.com/Milton Darnell Smith. So let's first talk about quarantine and what led you to escape the United States and go to Mexico and become, are you a citizen of, a resident
Not
of
yet.
Mexico?
Not yet. That's the long-term plan. But currently, I'm just legally a temporary resident.
Ah, so I know quarantine was hard for everyone, right? And we were blessed to have at least one day during the quarantine where we sat on the beach. I think I was doing a paddleboard martini video shoot.
Yes.
And I was in Long Beach where you were living, and I said, "Come over." And we were both talking about the challenges of working from home by yourself and living by yourself with no animals or pets or anything. You were talking about the pictures on your refrigerator and everything. How did you deal with quarantine and what inspired you to move to Mexico?
So I think for me, I just kept thinking, and I think a lot of people had this thought that it was going to be temporary, right? So I
Right.
think I just kept thinking, so I kept giving myself, I kept pushing back dates of when I would crack or allow myself to crack. And I kept pushing them out further and further. And when the dates kept getting further and further, and the pause of quarantining wasn't ending soon enough for me, that's
Right.
when I figured I needed to get out. I needed to just get out of my space. I love living alone. I live alone here as well. Um, but I'm an extrovert and I love being around people, even if I don't have to talk to them, just being in the space of energy
Right.
around people. And so I actually went first to Santa Barbara because I love the ocean and I love the
Oh,
beach.
yes.
And that was my first kind of like getaway. And I figured I'm going to get away from everyone, but still be near people because it's a beach. And then I went to Tijuana. So I wanted to just get out of the U.S. because there was a lot of the tension that was happening with George Floyd, and all the energy around that on top of COVID. And
Right.
again, I couldn't see family and friends, and so being in Mexico, even just Tijuana for me felt nice to leave the country.
Right.
And again, they were taking COVID a lot more seriously than we were in the U.S., and they still are. And so that made me feel I felt like I was living again. Like I was, so
Right.
that for me was a big push. And it really kind of helped inspire, you know, a dream that I've always had of moving to Mexico. And that kind of, going to Tijuana in July, literally July last year, was kind of like well, the near final push to just go and do it.
Wow. And I love how you talk about living your dreams because some people talk about things and some people take action. And you are, and I am an action taker. You have to be a little bit, take a little bit of a risk to be able to, fulfill your dreams. But how did you overcome all of like, or did you have any like little negative self talk that says, "What are you doing? And why are you going to Mexico?" Or any family members or friends that says, "Have you lost your freaking mind in quarantine?" Like,
So I know there's family and friends that are listening to this, and again, several of them were naysayers and supportive of me being happy, but not if that happiness meant leaving them, right? So it
mm,
was like conditional happiness or conditional support. And for me, it was I had lost a few friends in over the last 3 or 4 years, and then my father passed about almost 5 years ago,
mm.
and I just kept remembering my grieving process only felt easier when I thought about honoring their lives by living my life completely.
Oh, that's
And again,
beautiful.
yeah, and I think that came for me in a couple of two different dreams that I
Oh,
had with one friend who passed, and then a dream with my dad who passed. And I was like, well, how am I? I'm grieving. I had the survivor's guilt,
right,
um, especially because again, people that were dying were people that I thought were incredible human beings, right? And
right.
I felt like when they died, I was grieving their loss, but I was also grieving the thought of here was somebody who's making a huge impact on the world
Right.
by their presence, and now they're gone. And
Mm,
again, and I'm still grieving, and I'm not doing the exchange of doing half as much as they were doing for the world. And
right.
so that kind of pushed me as well to kind of live my best life. Even before that phrase or that term became popular, it was in my mind. How do I live what's best for me, um, and then give out my energy to the world after that.
I love it. That was the inspiration to start my own business, which was my first business in 2002 is called Passionate Living Now, because my brother had passed away when he was 16. And I remember having my first government job, and this guy that was sitting at the front desk was very disengaged. And I said, well, "What's wrong with him?" They said, "He's going to retire." I'm like, "When?" They said 5 years. I'm like, "He's going to be checked out for 5 freaking years." I was 25. I had 40 years until retirement. And I said, "Hell no. I cannot
Mm,
do this. I don't want to look like him and be like a checked out person when you realize." And I think the quarantine, and COVID and just living life and having people like just even people in the public eye, they were just talking about Bismarck Key and all the people that we lost collectively last year. Star of Black Panther,
Kobe
Kobe
Bryant. I mean,
Bryant,
Kobe was a big
Kobe,
impact for me.
right?
And that's another example I think too. Is like I think losing Kobe. I mean, I people that know me, I'm a huge Laker fan. But and then Kobe, he was a peer in my mind, right? I
Mhm.
felt like I grew up with Kobe. We're only about 9 months apart, and so
Oh,
his
wow.
loss for me was very tragic. And then the other piece was, you know, he was another person that I felt like that gave a lot. And
Right.
so I felt like the people that were gone, we weren't losing, you know, people that were, not contributing to society or to the
Right.
world. We were
Right.
losing people that were change makers. And it
Right.
made me really kind of look at myself and I'm like, well, am I making enough of an impact? Like I'm a community activist, I'm supporting various charities and I'm trying to be a good human, but am I doing that at the detriment of myself, of like living my best life myself? And in that case, am I being a hypocrite? Right? Because, or am I
Oh.
feeding my soul well enough to also be able to help others? And I
Mm.
wasn't at the time. And then when Chadwick died, it
Yeah.
was just whoa. It was like back. And I remember I was in the car, and again, I wasn't texting and driving, but I got the text alert on my phone through my
Right.
car, and I saw it on the screen, and I literally almost got into a car accident on the freeway
Wasn't
because I
it
was
July? It was
yeah, it was
July.
July, yeah, and I
Yeah,
was
I
I was
remember.
I was reading the message coming on my screen, which again, they tell you not to have a text and drive on your phone. I didn't. I had it on my screen, but that was such a shocking text, and it's on the dashboard of my
Right.
car that I was like, huh. And so yeah, I mean, those two were big time, I think. And I didn't have the same connection as I did with Chadwick or with Kobe, but what I did have was the similarities of again another person who I thought was contributing to society. And then you heard about all the things that he did that we didn't know about,
Right.
and it just made me think like, I'm not giving enough of myself or feeding my soul to do so.
Right.
There has to be a shift and a change. So
Right. Yeah, and it wasn't easy to be a black man in America either. It's still not.
yeah,
Who
exactly.
knows if it ever will be? Um, but I mean, part of your I heard you say that you didn't feel safe
Yeah,
anymore. Yeah.
I think like and I tell people this all the time. When people ask, I get this question maybe twice or three times a day about why I moved here, and I get it from strangers, I get it from friends, I get it from former colleagues, and I say this: I say, I'm someone who is very self-determined. I self-actualize things in my life, but I was also in survival mode. Like I felt like the last couple of years, especially with COVID, I was in survival mode, and so I was not living; I was just surviving. And I think I know that once I moved here, that switched from just surviving to thriving, just that feeling. And that happened to me every time I left the US as well. I felt that feeling of this burst of like excitement and this ability to thrive as opposed to the forcefulness of what it meant to survive as a black
Right.
man in America. So
Right.
that was the kind of things that were on my mind.
And my other friend who moved from Mar Vista that I interviewed on my podcast, that's now in Playa del Carmen, a hop, skip, and a jump
Yeah.
over there from you. She's like, the amount of money that I don't pay in rent from LA, that
Uh-huh.
just the quality of life living in the Caribbean Sea,
Mhm.
I see her pictures and I'm like, wow, I may have to join you, at least to do
Come on,
retreat.
we're ready for you.
I know. I gotta go. I gotta go. But it's just, I think it's so inspiring how you just almost seamlessly and smoothly just adjusted your life, your career, your business. What was your thought process and your mindset to be able to set yourself up that you could get your own apartment, that you could have work, especially going there not speaking fluently the language, right? You don't speak
Yeah.
fluently
No.
yet.
Yeah. And I think that for me, it was, I think I, instead of using the challenges as a way to kind of fuel my anxiety, I use that energy to kind of create a launch pad for a positive shift in my energy. And
Oh,
so, and again, with we all get options and choices with our life and our experiences. And again, it's
right.
all about which choices we make. And again, I there was a few moments, especially when I said yes in my mind, when I said, you know what, I'm doing this. Like when it became real for me, before telling other people even, like when I said yes to myself, I had some moments of like, wait, am I really saying yes right now? Or right, do I have 6 more months? And I had a 3 week turnaround for this shift to happen. And I think for me, I thought about one of my really good friends who passed, Keisha, from cancer. And I
Oh,
still, I run 4 times a week and I wear her a bracelet from her memorial, and it's hashtag fearless. And I remember
ah,
her, even when she was alive, she was really big on, fearlessness. And I remember talking to her. One of our last conversations, was about me just living. And her telling me that she loved my energy and that she loved being around me. And I'm like, no, I love that about you. And she
mhm.
said, well, promise me that you're going to keep living, even when I pass, because
Oh,
she was a fighter with cancer, and we both have a mutual friend, and with cancer, you dealt with the heavy lifting of that. With
right.
Keisha, I didn't have to do too much of the heavy lifting. The other friends were around. I was there towards the end, but I remember just having, at one point she couldn't talk, so we had a machine for her to be able to write. It was kind of a cool machine. She was able to write things out.
Right.
It digitally was able to speak to us. We were able to hear her with the writing. And I remember she wrote that a lot, and she was really clear about me living. Like, you're doing a lot for the world. You've done a lot for people, but you need to live. And I think I sometimes forgot that in the dog eat dog world of, you know needing to work, or chasing a relationship, all those things, but not going back to what's important for me to be fed, to live, and to live my authentic life happy, and be able to give more of myself. Like, I feel like I can give more of myself now, um, without thinking about, oh, this is going to be so much more taxing, and all the other challenges that my life was fixated on, with working, volunteer. I'm on 3 different nonprofit boards, and not just on the nonprofit boards, I'm the board chair, or
Right.
I'm in like these positions of leadership within these nonprofit volunteer opportunities, on top of a full-time job, and being with my friends and all those things, and not really saying, hey, what do you need?
Right.
And giving myself, moments of self care. I was really good at that, but was I living a full life around, self self sustainability? Like, I wasn't what
Ah,
I was doing wasn't sustainable.
that is so interesting. I love how, and that's what I love about you too. Same thing that she loves about you is that your default is almost seeing the optimistic, positive thing in life. Most people default to the negative and
Mhm.
they switch to the positive. Like I think it's because of a voice from my family that got into my subconscious programming that I go to the negative and I'm constant, but I'm vigilant. I'm super vigilant. Like I'll be at the negative for a very, very short time and I'll switch it in my mind. But you said something that's so powerful. You said that you had the opportunity to see the challenges and get overwhelmed, but you made the choice. and that everything in life is a choice, and you chose to be fearless, and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to speak, I don't know where I'm going to live, I don't know how I'm going to do it, I don't know where I'm going to run. Like I was watching you on Facebook when you first started, and you discovered the boulevards to run, and all the Mexico City has such beautiful artwork. Oh my God, people that haven't
Yes.
been, like, it's the architecture, the artwork, the culture. The number one
The
thing I love about
energy,
Mexico City, the people,
the
the
people. Yeah, it's
people,
my number
the
one.
food. Number two, number one is
Yeah,
the people,
the
the the
history.
food, the history. Ah, it's just so beautiful. But to have the courage to do that, and just, and I think part of your, and correct me if I'm wrong, part of your default to positive is you practice, as long as I've known you, extreme self-care. Like, you've always been a runner, you've always ate healthy. Like, talk about your self-care.
Sure. I mean, I think I've been very blessed in the sense, like and this is going to sound really strange, but it's normal for me. I don't know any other way than
Uh,
to be positive. And when I do start, I mean, I'm human, so I have those moments of self doubt or negative thoughts come in my mind. But I'm under the umbrella of positivity so much. So when the droplets of negativity hit me, that umbrella is there, right? So
right,
there, I mean, if it's a thunderstorm, I'm probably going to get a little bit of wet. And I'm using that metaphor because it's pouring right now out my window. But I mean,
uh,
I'm going to get wet a little bit, but I'm not going to get soaked because I have that huge umbrella of protection. And I think that's been one thing I had in my life since I was, my earliest thoughts, even as a kid, like 3 or 4 years old. And I joke with my mom. My mom drank coffee her whole pregnancy with me, which is why
oh, that's why you're
I have an
hyper.
immense amount of energy. For people who have never met me, they're like, "Wait a minute, he has a lot of energy," and I
Yeah,
speak
you
really
do.
fast. But yeah, the whole, this is the '70s, so nobody knew that you weren't supposed to drink coffee. My mom still drinks lots of coffee. Ironically, I don't drink coffee. I'm not a coffee person at all. I'm a tea person. But yeah, I've always been a runner. I've always used running as something that I could fall back on to be with myself. As again, someone who's an extrovert, I love being with people and interacting with lots of energies, but I love the alone time of running because I'm able to get in my head and kind of, play the record that I want to hear at that moment, right? So it's like I'm running,
Oh,
yeah,
just
and
just like we play the record of music we love, our Prince, we can play the record of the positive thoughts we want to hear. I like it.
yep, and it helps me flow. Helps me flow. I also, I swim, but even stuff not even, I'm very athletic. Someone who loves, being active, but even the non-athletic stuff for me is also important. I love moments of silence, and it's hilarious because friends of mine, and you're one of my really close friends. I speak a lot. I just actually said yes to a hosting gig yesterday,
Ah,
and I was like, I only want to do it because I get to talk, but I love these moments of just being in my head alone. Like I can be with music. Like I can hear Mark Anthony in a room and just be in my room for hours with just the music and my thoughts. So I have that balance too of being able to kind of take away the physical aspect of my self-care, but also just either having silence or music that kind of moves or inspires me is also very important. Like it's those pieces and just trying to be, trying to get into the depths of who I am and have honest conversations with myself. Like, be alone with myself. I love myself. And I love being alone. I travel alone around the world.
mhm.
And I have great times traveling with friends, but I love traveling alone and having those alone time.
I love it. And how does swimming differ from running in your self-care?
Ah,
Because you inspired me to get swimming. I'm going to swim right after the podcast. I saw you on Facebook in the pool. I'm like, whoa, that looks fun.
so I got to be honest. I always tell people this too because I love swimming, and people are like, "You're an amazing swimmer." I almost drowned. My first near-death
Whoa.
experience. I was 4 years old in Bakersfield, California, of all places. I almost drowned, and I went. That was at age 4, and I didn't get back into a pool again for about 8 years, maybe. So 11 or 12 is when I
Uh-huh.
got into a pool again, and even then, I was very like I'll stay in the 3 feet section because I was a little
Right.
bit taller at that point. And then in high school, I started doing swimming and I tried out for the diving team because I figured, okay, this is an easier route. and I was a horrible diver, really bad. I don't even think I scored for a team, so I only did 1 year of diving. But it inspired me to do more swimming, and then I stopped. I swam just to have fun, and I would say in the last maybe like 4 to 5 years, I kind of enjoyed swimming again. And I think what inspired me to do it was my dad was a big swimmer. My dad loved swimming.
Oh.
And I always tell people my dad was also my first competitor. He was like my first friend, my first competitor. And I think I didn't like swimming a lot because my dad was amazing at swimming. And I was the kid that almost drowned. So
Oh.
that piece of swimming was really weird. But when he passed, I actually swam more and I felt like I was closer to him in the water.
Me
And
too, with my
it,
grandma, because I used to
it's
swim with
so
her.
weird.
I feel my grandma under the water. I even
I
ask
mean,
her for guidance in the water.
yeah, I've done a couple of triathlons and I've swam, training swims. But now with swimming, and I swim now 3 days a week, about an hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes a day, or each time I swim.
Whoa,
Yeah,
really?
I've gotten serious about swimming.
Oh
One,
my
because it's
God.
here and I have the time, but I have these moments where my dad pops up. I'm on like lap 50 something, and my dad pops up in
Wow,
my mind.
that's beautiful.
Or if I'm sharing a lane, which I don't like to do, someone might share a lane with me. I get excited about sharing the lane, or not get excited, but I change my mode from being like resentful for having to share a lane to being like, this is my dad's way of saying, I need to be open to this experience of this person sharing
Oh
the
my
lane with
God,
me.
my Mermiga swim partner is calling you Mermigo.
I love it. I love
That's
it.
Brittany Devane, she coined the term Mermiga and Mermigo.
I
So
love
it's
Mermega.
like your
Okay.
mermaid amigo, mermaid
I
amiga.
love it.
Or if you want to be gender neutral, mermigex.
Mermega. But yeah, I no, but it's interesting. Like I love, and it's funny. One of my friends, Bob, he's a diehard swimmer too. Like he's someone that had swum for a while and started swimming again, in his 50s, and he swims, I think 5 days a week at this point, and he
Right.
swims a lot. He's the one that told me about getting the swimming headphones. So I have podcasts, I have Mark Anthony playing in my ear, Mary J. Blige, I have Selena, I have all this music playing in my ears as I'm swimming. I could swim for hours. Um, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
that's what helps me too. And again, and I think it keeps me, grounded because I'm underground and I'm a kind of a type A, so I can't control as much above ground. So I feel like, okay, I'm in the water. I don't have to worry about controlling things when I'm under the water. I'm not checking
There's
my
freedom.
phone. Yeah, I'm phone free for almost 2 hours, and I don't. In the beginning, it was hard because someone might text me from work, someone might
Right.
text me from here, and now I'm like, no, I'm in the water. Like this is my time, and I have it. Oh, Deb, this is very important. I think I might have gotten this from you. Actually, I actually put it on my calendar.
Yes, schedule it in your
Yeah,
calendar, see it
yeah.
in your life.
So
Yeah.
I got that from you. So when people visit me, it's always funny. They like my friends from LA or New York who visit. They look at my calendar. Like, you're so busy. I'm like, well, some of those things are like built in. Like my running time,
Right.
it's on my calendar. Like at my swimming time. Yeah, I got that from you. I remember you told me about that. If it's on
Mhm.
your calendar, it's in your life. Yeah, I remember. And so I will literally look up in the morning. I'm like, okay, so from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, I can't be reached because I'm in the pool, and from the pool I'm doing
Oh.
weights. But I'm in this period, no emails, no text, no WhatsApp, and I'm fueling myself to start my day, and I do it every morning. So I go from running to biking to swimming, depending on the day of the week, except Sunday. Sunday's my kind of laid back day where I might do. They have ciclavia here every
Oh,
Sunday.
that's so cool.
Yeah, so I might pop into that, or I might, wander into a neighborhood I haven't seen, or just hang out. Sunday's kind of like my laid back day. But
In Colombia, I think Ciclavia started in
yeah,
Colombia.
Colombia is where it
Colombia.
started. Yeah,
Mhm.
in
And
Bogota.
they have
Yeah.
it in LA now, Ciclavia, but it's only every quarter.
Ah,
Yeah, every
I think it's
quarter.
great. I have rollerblades, so I either rollerblade or I use my bike. I haven't actually run Ciclavia because it's on Sunday. I don't run on Sundays, but
Yeah.
um, but it's nice to have that energy of the city. you
Yeah.
know,
For
and
those of you
see.
that don't know what ciclovia is, they close the streets for you to be able to socialize and really enjoy shopping and being around without cars. So
Mhm.
you could bike, you could rollerblade, you could run, you could walk,
Skateboard.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
anything but
great.
drive. It's like a day of no driving. I love it. I
I
love it.
love it. I love
Oh
it.
my God. So you were talking about how you love to travel alone. And I love Facebook watching you travel all around. And I remember one trip you took to Turkey. Do you remember that trip? You want to tell them about what happened?
Yeah, it's year 5 anniversary a couple of weeks ago. Year 5
I'll
anniversary.
never
Yeah.
forget where I was when I got your call. I was at Starbucks. Go on, go
Yeah, no,
on.
it's interesting. So again, for those who don't know, there was a attempted coup in 2016, and I was actually on my way to South Africa for the International AIDS Conference. And so, being me, I always liked having layovers as a way to explore, a city that I wanted to visit. So I would be really intentional about booking travel where I could have, a 1 day or 2 day layover in between in a city that I wanted to visit. And so with Turkey, I think I had a 36-hour layover that was going to be scheduled on my way to South Africa. And so I had a great day in Turkey. My evening was really great. And again, I was doing really good self-care by not being on my phone. I
Right.
was going through a lot of temples. I was exploring the local art scene and the food scene. And the people in Turkey were just so amazing. As a solo traveler, you look for that. You look for a city where people are embracing you and engaging with you while you're, navigating alone. And so I was having such a great time. And so I didn't use my phone, and I'm headed to the airport, and I was ready to get an Uber, and something told me, this is like a divine, like,
Download.
presence that literally said, "Don't take the Uber to the airport. Take the subway."
Oh,
And their subways are above ground, so I thought I could see more things.
right.
I had more time, and so I think that might have actually been one of the things that saved me, because I took the subway, got to the airport, and as I got off, I noticed, you know, things were closed, and it was, maybe 10 p.m. at night. I got to inside of the airport, and it's like those movies you see, those scary movies where you see all of the signs flipping and flapping,
Right.
canceled, 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 canceled flight, or delayed, delayed. So all the
Ah.
flight signals are all, delayed and flagging. And at that time, I didn't know what was happening. And I looked at my phone, and friends are all saying, "I hope you got out of there okay. Oh, or you're already gone, so you're lucky." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm reading these messages back to back,
I messaged you on Facebook. Are you okay?
and not getting it. I was like, "What are they talking about?" And so I look, and one of them says, "I hope you're not still there because it's very dangerous." And I'm like, "What? What?" And so I go right away to the news, BBC News. I look at BBC News and I see, wait a minute, the attempted coup is starting. And then at that moment, I'm like, okay, well, what's happening? I'm not sure. And whenever I travel, and this is a tip for folks who are U.S. based, whenever I travel, I always do the alerts for the government signals. Like, whenever you travel,
Oh.
let the government know that you're away. You can do it online. It's really quick. So I advocate anybody in the U.S. I don't know if other countries have that option,
What do
but
you
in the
mean?
U.S.,
With the US Embassy?
yeah, you can go online, and if you're traveling internationally, you can basically log your report to, I forget the system how it works, but you just log in to the U.S. Embassy and basically let them know you're traveling to these countries, these dates, and they just
Oh,
ask you to fill in your phone number, your email address, your passport, so that the country knows. Because you imagine they scan your passport, they know. No way.
right.
No, no, no.
Oh.
So you'll get alerts. Well, I didn't get any alerts on my phone or my email, so I didn't think anything was happening. But I guess, and I found out later, it happened so rapidly, there wasn't time for the embassy to kind of alert folks. And
Right.
so, it was very terrifying. There were gun shootings in the airport. There were a couple attempted bombs that happened in the airport.
I
And
That's what I heard, the
I
bomb.
mean, it
Yeah.
was and I think for me, I think I tell people, like, there was positives even with that. The positive for me is I grew up in LA. So I had, I was used to
Oh my
earthquakes.
God. That's
So when
so sad.
the first bomb hit for me, it felt
Dios
like an
mío.
earthquake. And so
Okay.
I thought, okay, I know what earthquakes feel like. I didn't know it was a bomb. The
Mhm.
buildings were shaking. But then when you think about it, okay, the bombs and the guns together, and then people running and screaming and people trampling over each other. I think that's when it became more of a panic situation for me. I think that's where it was like, and again, I had a very quick moment of, and I laugh about this because I had a margarita.
Good for
I,
you.
I had my margarita and I actually grabbed my margarita, and in slow motion I forgot the passport, so I had to go run back and grab
Oh
the
no.
passport because it was on my it was on my my table in the restaurant. And so, that feeling of I need to survive this,
Yeah.
that was in my mind. And I don't know what this is. We weren't getting real time news. Um, Phones weren't working. And oddly enough, none of my internet on my phone was working, but I was able to get Messenger.
Right. I
I
remember
was
that.
able to get, so Facebook was working and Messenger was working, but I couldn't get anything else. I couldn't get news. I couldn't get phone calls. And so I was able to update folks. And I mean, and I don't know if they're listening, but Pam, Derek, Damien, and Daniel, some of my close friends, I had them send me a map of the airport.
I
And
remember that.
I had a group of friends who were literally monitoring the situation, and they were keeping me mindful and in real time, helping me navigate the situation. The challenge with that though was I couldn't talk to them, and I had to talk to them in increments. I had to go
Right.
running, I had to go run, or I had to duck and cover. And then whenever the shots rang, we didn't think about, okay, the shots are going to come in. My thought was I have to get out of here. So I
Right.
kept thinking, and again, I kept thinking, I'm like, I felt safer in my mind being away from, the hot spot of the bombs and the guns,
Right.
being, and this is a moment where I felt like, being a Black American was better than being a Caucasian American, because I thought no one's going to look at me and think, okay, I'm going to get a ransom, from a Black American. Like, they're going to kidnap an American. They're not going to kidnap me.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe if I don't speak, maybe they don't even know that I'm American. Maybe they think I'm African
Right.
or Latin
Moroccan or
American. Yeah.
something. Yeah.
So I thought I at least had that going in my favor, as I was running and trying to, navigate staying alive. And then again, I think my grandmother, who was very prayerful, all of my life, and was one of my first angels, sent me Bruce, who was a
Oh,
doctor.
Bruce! He's still my
Yeah,
friend on Facebook, the
yeah,
doctor.
the doctor. I mean, so I was kind of calm and collected, but I still had a little bit of, I think I had more of a tension inside of me, more so than anxiety. And I think he was really tense, and we joke about it because he was really tense and more, action oriented, and I was really more solution. I'm like, oh, what's a solution? And so we had two folks who had worked. I mean, he still works in a hospital, so we're used to those kinds of training working in hospitals, and we basically combined our knowledge. Here were two strangers who met mid running. We were some of the few people that were running solo, not screaming, not crying. And I remember him specifically because he wasn't crying. People were crying. I mean, there was
Oh,
grown men, women, and
scary.
kids
Scary.
crying, and again, people were raiding the concierge spots and like
Uh,
ripping things off. I mean, people. It was like terror. It was a fight. It was literally fight or flight mode. And
right.
I think I didn't have that. I was fortunate. I didn't have that. My thought was I need to get out of this space. And then the more I spoke with people from the U.S. and I talked to some woman that was actually there too, we were told the president was coming to the airport. And that freaked me out because I
Oh my
thought
God.
someone wants to be a suicide bomber. They want to get him. Like,
Right.
I don't want to
Don't
be
bring him
anywhere
over
near the
here.
president. Yeah, don't come
Yeah.
here. Like, get away from here. Go on by boat. So yeah, I mean, so I think that whole experience for me, I think the takeaways for me were, one, I think, and this is a comment from my friend Kaida that I think about, she talks about a lot, that my net worth is my network.
Right.
And I think that was my first time kind of seeing it in action. And she's said it for years, but being able to see people from all over the world, try to help save me. Friends of friends, friends of mine from Bali
Lisa
who are trying to
Cervantes was
help.
praying with me for you.
I
Yeah.
mean, it was really, really cool. I mean, and it was, and I think that more so than being inspiring, it also gave me, it gave me the clarity that I'm not alone. So,
Yes.
and even with Bruce, I mean, me and Bruce, but I do remember a moment of, and we joke about it, me and Bruce now, because we were in a room, I was looking at exits, and there were people barricading the doors who, in fear, they were barricading themselves around the door. And I said, no, we got to get out of that door. And it was
Right.
like one of those horror movies where it was like, we have to physically remove these. And I remember it was these girls from Israel who felt if we opened the door that they were going to be. I'm like, no, we're sitting ducks in this room. We were in a closet, exit.
Right.
And so, I mean, and they're crying. And I just remember being very, very direct and very intentional about getting through that door, because that door led to another exit. I had the map. I was fortunate enough to
Oh,
get and I think it might have been Pam. So if Pam's listening, I think Pam was the person that actually got me the map, my girl best friend. But that map on my phone, and having Bruce and I navigate the map to figure out, okay, here are exit signs. And again, here are exits that are not listed to the general public. So yeah, I mean, it was a fight or flight moment in my life. I talk about it being one of my first, or I had more than one, but one of my, where I felt like, okay, this could be it, but I'm going to at least try to do everything I can possible, even in that moment, to help other people as well as, myself.
that's amazing. That's just another sign of your mindset, because
Mhm.
when people defaulted to fight, flight, freak out, you defaulted to what is the solution? What is the possibility? Let's get a map. Let's get out. Oh my God. I have so many more questions for you. We might have you back. I want, before we end, because we're like out of time now, we're over, but let's just go over a little bit. I wanted to talk about your movie, your acting career that
Yeah.
suddenly started 40 years old. You restarted your acting career after a 10-year hiatus. Can you talk about how you moved to Mexico? You have a new life. We're like, oh, I hope he's going to adjust. Next thing you know, he's doing a movie. I'm like,
Yeah.
Milton,
Yeah.
what's going on?
So I can tell you that really quickly. First, I want to just say thank you to the people of Mexico. Mexico has wrapped her arms around me in a way that, as a visitor, multiple years, I would have never thought possible. But I'm under this blanket of love in this country. And the movie started out, actually, a friend have sent me out for an audition for a commercial. And I was like, no, I acted in my 20s. I'm 41. I'm not acting anymore. Like, those days are past. That's not something I want to do. And my friend kept prodding and prodding. She's like, please just go to it. Do me a favor. So I go to the audition for the commercial. I didn't get it, and I didn't care about not getting it. I was like,
Right.
I'm not an actor. Like, that's past my life. I get a call randomly from some woman who had my Mexican cell phone number, and it freaked me out because I don't give that number out to a lot of people. I have 3 phone numbers, and so if you got that number, that's like the bat phone. So
Ah,
uh, I don't give that number out because I have WhatsApp. I have Messenger. I have a home line. I have a lot
right.
of phones. So that phone is very, very, specific people have that number. So an unknown number called multiple times, and she was texting me, and I talked to her. She's like, I want to send you out for a movie audition. You're perfect for the character, blah, blah, blah. And I started laughing because I was like, I'm not an actor. Like, I acted, in my 20s. Like, those days are gone, blah, blah, blah. And she's saying, can you please go? Can you please go? So I go for the first audition. I walk in the room. I don't even know what it's for. They say it's for a preacher. I start laughing again. Like, I'm literally laughing out loud. I'm like, no, no, no. And my grandfather was a preacher on my dad's side. And so I'm laughing. I'm like, no, I'm not really religious. I'm more spiritual than religious, like a preacher role. I go to the second audition. And then I go to the third one, and they tell me, okay, we want you in this movie.
Oh my
And
God.
they say it's a Mexican movie, a director, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's some small film. I have a day job. Like, I'm really busy
Right, right,
to do
right,
this
right.
film. And then they tell me who it's directed by, Alejandro Gonzalez Inarturo. I'm like, what?
What?
And I literally, I was eating a
Isn't he
burrito,
Oscar award winning?
5-time Oscar-winning director, and I'm eating a burrito. I dropped the burrito in the restaurant, and I'm in shock. And I said, okay, I got to do this movie.
What are some of his
Um,
other movies? I'm just
I have
curious.
The Reverend with Leonardo DiCaprio,
Oh.
Birdman,
Oh.
Amores Perros,
He did Amores
Babel.
Perros. I
Yeah,
love that movie.
that was his first film. Babel, 21 Grams
Babel.
with
Oh
Sean
my God, that
Penn.
made me want to go to Morocco when I saw
Yeah,
Babel with
he is
Angelina Jolie.
yeah, 21 Grams with Sean Penn. I mean,
Oh,
he's an
shoot.
amazing director. I mean, he was so
Oh my
giving.
God.
And I didn't anticipate meeting him. I've done movies before, like in my 20s, and the director sometimes doesn't talk to people who have 1 or 2 lines. I had more lines. I had more lines than I thought I was going to have. I had a pretty big scene with the lead in the movie. And Alejandro was just amazing to work with. I mean, he talked to me, he was engaging with me. And then at the end, I got to throw this part out there. Thank you, Alejandro, and the whole cast and crew, if anybody ever hears this. They did a freaking clap for me at the end of my scene that was, I mean, it pulsated me as I was walking out. I was like, if I was white, I would have been beat red, because their claps were so reinforcing of the scene. Because I did a whole monologue around, you know, Christ and Mexicans and African American in that piece, and it was amazing. And again, but the film was interesting. Here I am playing a preacher in East LA, but I'm in, you know, Mexico City filming it, and it's the characters talking about, you know, the support of Mexicans and Black people, and I'm like, that's been my life since I was 10. Like, I mean, that was like, and again, my grandfather was a preacher, so it was like all those moments of my life kind of intertwined here in Mexico City, you know, almost 15 years after not doing a professional acting gig. And that's been the, you know, the floodgates. And from then on, you know, I booked another commercial. I'm on hold for 2 commercials right now this week.
Woo!
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I tell people, I'm like, well, I came here, you know, for a new life and this new change, but I was going to still work remotely for my life in the US. But now I think my new goal, not my dream, my new goal is to really focus on just, you know, acting here 100% full time.
Are you
I mean,
serious?
yeah, I mean, I have at least 3 auditions a week, and I tell people, I get to have fun. Like, I think each audition, you know, acting in my 40s versus acting in my 20s is so different. You know, I'm different. You know, I'm living my full life. I know who I am as a person now, so I can give more as an actor. But I also feel like, again, I feel like I'm such in a protected blanket of love in this country. Even like, again, even my challenging days here are, I mean, a blip on the radar of what it would be like, you know, on my challenging days living in the US.
You have your chilaquiles and
I mean, I'm fed spiritually by the people. So again, my number one thing I talk about living in this country is the people. Even when as a visitor, number 2 and 3, it goes from 2 to 3. I go, number 2 would definitely be the history, and then 3, the food. The food, it's life changing. I mean,
it's not like Mexican food here in the United States at all, especially in Mexico City.
With such love. I mean, even you know, even I mean,
como agua por chocolate. Remember, like water for chocolate? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everything's with love. People will give you their shirt off their back, even if they don't have a shirt. They'll find a shirt and give it to you because they're just so loving.
I have my wallet. I lost my wallet in an Uber, and I knew it was coming back to me. It came back to me the next day. Every single credit card was there. I mean, it was
wow.
And I knew it. I told my friends from the US, and they're like, "Oh, it's gone." And I said, "No, the Uber driver is gonna whoever got in the car after me is gonna turn it in. It's gonna come back to me." And it literally the next morning, by 11 o'clock the next morning, it came back to me.
That's incredible.
So, I mean, and that's just the norm. That's just the norm of, you know, living. And I think that helps inspire me to know that I'm on the right path. I'm in the right place at the right time all the time. And again, it helps me kind of say, okay, I made the right decision. I have no second thoughts or any regrets. And I'm hoping, again, I inspire other people to do the same thing. Again, maybe it's not Mexico for you. Maybe it's Costa Rica, or maybe it's Morocco, or maybe it's Uruguay. But again,
or maybe it's just changing jobs, or maybe it's just living even more passionately, or maybe it's living like what I am committed to this year is living even more fearlessly. Oh, I'm scared of driving. I'm going to drive. I'm scared of swimming. I'm going to swim. I'm scared of whatever.
Like Keisha.
Hashtag fearless. And you had a dream that guided you to go to Mexico, and you followed it, and it led you to your path of this acting career that you didn't even know that you had as a goal. And now it's a goal.
I was not even thinking. And it's another little moment I'll share really quickly, is that when I thought about getting which visa type I was going to get, I was going to get a visa, you know, just, you know, a very stubborn, spoiled visa, the visa that says I make enough money, I can live here by my own means, right? So that's one of the visas you can apply for based on your financial situation. And for all my years of wanting to move here, that was always my thought. But one of my really close friends, who I hope will listen to this one day, Victor was very adamant about, no, you might want to work here one day.
Yes.
And so I will help you get your working visa. And I'm like, no, no, I'm not going to work in Mexico. Like I'm going to, but if I didn't have that work visa, I wouldn't even be eligible for some of from the castings I've been in or the movie because I needed to have a working
Oh,
visa. So again, those
wow.
little moments of, you know, being guided and being open to, being guided.
And that's what alignment is. It's being open to the divine guidance. It's trusting the divine guidance. It's listening to it and then taking that inspired action. And thank you so much for being an example of that because so many people that are listening to this live and on the replay are going to be able to be inspired by that. So thank you so much. We'll have to have you
No, thank
back.
you.
We have more to share with you. We have Mark Anthony stories, right, Mel? We've
Well, how about when the movie's
marathon
released?
stories.
When the
What?
movie's released, and if my whole monologue made it into the movie, because the words were so inspiring to say. So hopefully, all of the words in the monologue make it in the movie, and
Yes.
it'll hope because there were words that they weren't my words. They were words that were given to me, but there
Yeah.
were definitely some very inspiring words to be able to say.
Uh-huh.
The monologue was one of my best monologues I've ever done, personally. But to be able to hear those words or be able to hear those words said back to me, as me, Milton, as the actor taking it back, I think it'd be really inspiring. So I hopefully the movie comes out. It's called Limbo.
Limbo.
Limbo with it hasn't. There's no release date yet, but when it comes out, hopefully it gets him another Oscar.
Limbo. Then you can
Yes.
take me as
Yep.
your date. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I want to be your date. Limbo. Limbo. Everybody wants to be your date. Okay. So you guys follow Milton on Instagram, instagram.com/OG Black Paisa. Make sure that you're following him on Facebook. It's Milton Darnell Smith. And any closing words as I go off to my swimming class?
Sure. I just I think like Deborah said, trust your intuition. Your intuition, will help guide you. And again, you are your best self all the time. Just acknowledge it
Oh, you are your best self. Hold on, I need to take a
all the
note.
time.
All the
All
time?
the time. Yeah.
I am my best self all the time.
All the time. And
I'm gonna
again,
marinate that for the 15 minutes of swimming.
and then the other one that I love, again, like I told you, the other one, this one stuck with me. It came to me in a dream, and I remember waking up out of this dream because I have lucid dreams. We can talk about my lucid dreams. That's a whole nother
Next
episode.
time. Next
But
time.
every day is a new day at a fresh start.
Yes.
And I've had that mantra in my head from a dream for almost 18 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, about 18 years I've had that.
Every
So
day is a new
it's
day for a fresh start,
had
even
a fresh
right
start.
now.
Yeah, even right now.
And a fresh start. It's
Uh,
cleared.
Yep.
Oh, Lisa Thompson, my friend who's inspired me also to start swimming. She says, "You are their best self all the time." Yes. Okay,
Yes.
well, thank you so much, Milton. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Align for Success. Success, living your dreams through the example of my brother from another mother, even though my mother thinks you're like her son, you
I
know.
love your mom. Sending love to your
Yeah,
mom.
she
Say hi to
loves
your
you
brother and your
too.
nephew.
They can't wait to come see you. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Remember to check us out on Apple Podcasts. You can write a review. We'd love it if you would write a review. And you can check out the replay of this if you want to see the video on DeborahDerasLive.com. We'll see you next time. And remember, with the power of synergy, anything is possible. Ciao.